that we've done so far have had any requirement for parking whatsoever. And we've had a lot of feedback from the cities that we've operated in, confirming that we've had little or no impact on the parking requirements in the city. Thank you. Going back to look at just some current wheel projects. This is Liverpool, which is close to a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's actually right next to the conference and event centre in Liverpool. They get about 6 million visitors to that area every year. The wheel's now been there for 2 years. It's had no impact on parking. Next slide, please. That's the same location. That large building in front of the wheel is actually a hotel. You see how close the wheel is to the hotel. They were absolutely delighted with the impact that the wheel had. They actually now charge a premium for the rooms on the wheel side because people ask for a room with a view of the wheel, which is quite interesting. This is a wheel down in Plymouth. I don't know if any of you ever visited Plymouth, but this is Plymouth Hall, which overlooks the English Channel. It's historically very, very important to the UK. The statue there is Sir Francis Drake. So a lot of history in that area. We've had a wheel there now for 2 years. Next slide, please. Just another shot of Plymouth. The wheel is approximately 175 feet high. I've seen some wild estimates flying around on the internet, but 175 feet is the height. It's an open lattice design. It's round tubular steel. We only use white paintwork. We don't have flashing lights and loud music. We consider them to be a very graceful design. Because of the open lattice work design, we don't believe that they obstruct views. We have a lot of wheels located in important view corridors, particularly those in UNESCO World Heritage Sites. And the other overriding factor when we do go into these World Heritage locations is that normally our projects are completely temporary. In this particular case, we're pitching for a 3-year term, by which time the wheel will already have another location to go to. This is just an example, or a couple of examples of how we don't believe wheels block views. That's a Grade 1 listed building. It's actually the Town Hall in Sheffield, immediately behind the wheel. Whilst you can clearly see the wheel, I don't think you could describe it as blocking the view. Next slide, please. This is another example. This is the wheel in Belfast, which you've seen already. The mountains in the background are an important part of Belfast culture, and here you can see that it doesn't block the views. This is the front of the town hall, very historic location, a number of important statues on either side of the wheel, very close to it. It gives people the opportunity to see these places from a completely different perspective. I'm not quite sure why that's back in again, that's a mistake, I apologise. Next slide, please. This is an interesting one. You might recognise the Queen's House. This is Windsor, with the River Thames in the front. We had a wheel there about 3 years ago, right in front of Windsor Castle. Another waterfront development, which is Perth, Australia, overlooking the waterfront. That's a slightly smaller wheel than the one we're proposing for here. I've also seen a lot of discussion about traffic generation. I just want to give you some facts about that. The wheel is about a 15-minute ride, and based on 6 people per capsule, there's 42 capsules on a wheel. On a 12-hour day, the total capacity is just over 12,000 people. There is not a single wheel we have operated anywhere in the last 7, 8 or 9 years that has got anywhere near those kinds of maximum capacities. Why do we spend all that money putting more capsules on the wheel than we need? Well, that's because, particularly in Europe, we have to deal with very seasonal peaks and troughs, not just on a month-to-month basis or a seasonal basis, but even on a daily basis. So it goes up and down. So we have to have enough capacity on the wheel to handle the peaks. Unfortunately, we also have to deal with the troughs. But we'd never get anywhere near those kind of high levels, typically across a wide range of wheels. We're looking at somewhere between 50 and 200 people an hour on average. Now, there are obviously times when we're going much higher than that, but there are also times, unfortunately, where we're going much lower. So it works out on average of between 50 and 200 people an hour. That's just a schematic of the layout of the wheel. Just a comment from Jerry Copeland, who's the events manager of Belfast City Council, talking about how successful the wheel was for that city. That's that wheel that he was talking about. I talked earlier just briefly about community events and local forums. Every single place that we go, we end up doing a lot of charity events and working with the local community and individuals and groups of people. And we're very happy to work with them, to let them use the wheel as a backdrop and a focal point for their events, whether it's fundraising or entertainment, parties, whatever it happens to be. And you can see from some of the photographs there, it's a very wide range of community involvement. Another famous location is Hyde Park in London. Greenwich, down on the River Thames again, not far from London Eye actually, it's just out of shot there. The torchlight procession was when they were bringing the Olympic torch from Beijing into London, because we've got the Olympics this year. Thank you. And that's my final slide, just leaving you with that impression of how the wheel may look if this project was successful. Thank you for your patience. I hope I've answered some questions that you may have had, and I think we now have some questions and answers.
Thank you, Nigel. We're going to take public comment, and then we're going to open it up for questions. Just know that we're not voting on anything tonight. This is the first time they're coming. We're going to hear it again next month and take a final vote, because there's committees that are working on this, but I invited them to come so that more of us in the community would know what is proposed. What I have, okay, so what I have here in front of me are 10 speaker cards of people who are opposed to it, who do not wish to speak. I have 17 cards of people who are opposed and wish to speak. I have 2 cards of people who are in favor. And I have 5 cards of people who just put no comment, who want to comment. So I don't know if they're in favor of. So I just will, just for straw poll, if you're opposed to this project based on what you heard, would you just stand up? Okay, thank you. Sit down. Okay, out there, I don't know if you have the guts to stand up if you're in favor of this project. You want to stand up? Okay, 1, 2. All right, those are the 2 speaker cards I got. 3, 4 in favor. Okay, all right. See, this is a very diverse community. So this is my question. Rather than here, we have, I'll read the names of the 10 who don't want to speak so that you know that you're being heard. And then there's 17 people opposed. What I would really like, so that we can get out of here in a reasonable time, is maybe 3 or 4 or 5 of you decide to speak, and then if somebody doesn't say something really pertinent that you want to say, come up. I'll just sort of randomly pick the 5 against, if that's